Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Huh? Anybody? Julie, hey, guess what day it is? Oh, come on, I know you can hear me. Mike. What day is it, Mike? Leslie, guess what today is?
It's hump day.
Woo-hoo! Hump day, yeah!
Hello, and welcome, everybody. Welcome to another Wednesday, another hump day. And boy, we got some good stuff going on, huh? We're going to get into a couple of things tonight. Mostly, we're going to talk about what just happened at Toy Fair. I know you guys are probably getting tired of hearing all about Sonic, but we're going to kind of hopefully mix things up a little bit here, talk about some other, possibilities, what might have been for Sega from Arcade1up, what might still be. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But before I get started, I want to just let you guys know this show is a little bit of a pivot to me. This is actually kind of like plan B. My original plan for tonight was going to be just 100% all about Toy Fair. I'd actually been talking to somebody who was going to be at the show to see if he would come on. Unfortunately, the show ended yesterday. He was flying back home today. I reached out to him again, didn't hear back. So we'll see if maybe I can make that happen in the future or not. But I do have another guest on tonight who I'm very excited to be on with me to talk about some of these topics and things. I'm going to bring him on in just a few minutes. But before we do that, let's just take a minute. Let's say hi to who's here in the chat, and then I will introduce my guest. Don't forget, guys, there is a poll in the chat, so be sure that you are participating in that poll. Hopefully, I can figure out how to end it and bring it up before the end of the show, because I don't do them that often. Still figuring a lot of this stuff out. But let me say hi to who's here. I know earlier today I saw JJ was in the chat. He's back here again. Good to see you, JJ. And in answer to your original question, real quick, yes, I know the poll only mentions Daytona and Outrun, but you have to remember that with YouTube polls, you're kind of limited. You can only have 4 options, and they can only be up to 35 characters. Outrun, Daytona, those are ones that, Outrun, obviously, something that's been done before. Daytona is the one that people have talked about a lot, but I'll get into a little bit more of that later on. Josh Dendy, I know, is here. Saw him earlier. Cornercade was here saying hello. We've got, of course, Thumper Squid in the chat saying hello to the Bilberians. We've got Ritual Dello here as well. The real Zim. Thank God it's not that fake Zim. I hate that guy. We've got Gamer Fridge here. Guys, if you missed it, be sure you go back and check out Open Fridge from Monday night. I had the pleasure of being on there with Jay and Todd and Galaga Guy, and it was a lot of fun. We had a good time, so be sure you check that out if you missed it. We got Tim York, aka Dr. Torque, here. Got the old Outrun cab, but would love to get a Daytona, a personal favorite. Yep. John Fritz is here. We've got Goofy Foot, the original Bilberian. And I was finally able to figure out how to change that membership option so now it actually says the Bilberians for all of you guys. We've got Leon Spiegel here, waving and saying hi. Let's see who else. Evan Fain is here. Hello, good to see you. Jason Little Alien is here moderating. Hope you are feeling a lot better, Jason. I know you haven't been feeling too well lately, but hopefully you are on the mend. We got Sean Laugren here. Bobby1 ALU. I am not the guest tonight. Maybe it's my imposter who'll be singing. No, it definitely is not. We got Mike Hawkhurts, one of my favorite shows of the week. Thank you so much for that, Mike. I appreciate that. Fat Hog is here as well. My goodness, I'm seeing some names I don't necessarily recognize either, like this Stan Zib. Good to see you. I'm ready for the Cornercade Sonic build video. You might just get that. Let's see. JJ Gonzalez, looking forward to getting the Golden Axe Cab. Well, we'll see. Hopefully. Yeah, we did. We had a good time. And we have Kurt the Daring here as well. And look at this, Joe Cade popping by. Hey, Joe, are you back from Florida yet, or are you still down there, brother? All right. I think I'm caught up on the chat for now. We'll say hi as people keep coming in, as they usually do. But in the meantime, let me bring on my guest to say hello to everybody.
Hello.
James, everything.
Thanks for having me on. This should be fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. We were saying backstage, we've been on other shows together, but we haven't done a show, I think, just the two of us. So I think this will be a lot of fun. And we're getting into some cool stuff, I think, later on. And it's going to be fun to have somebody to kind of chat back and forth with on it. So this is going to be good. Oh, hello, Mr. Hector. Good to see you here. Another fellow Bilbarian. All right. So before we get into the whole Toy Fair, Sonic, Sega thing, there was one thing that I wanted to bring up. And let me see here. Let me get this ready. James, I know you've probably seen this as well. I don't know. Besides Fox, I don't know who else has really kind of been talking about this that much. Maybe Mike did on his show on Monday. I don't know. Like I said, I was on with the Open Fridge guy, so I didn't get a chance to watch his show. But it's iconic. And their latest delay. Did you see this?
I did. It's very interesting. I will say it's not too much of a shock. I kind of surmised like after the first slip, but very interesting stuff.
Yeah, so this was posted a couple of days ago, and this is John saying, I want to keep you guys fully informed about the delivery status of the iconic Arcade XT cabinets. There's two, for those who didn't know, there's actually two containers coming over now. Says the vessel has departed 7 days later than originally communicated and will now arrive April 6th in the U.S. This delay is the result of a container rollover, something that unfortunately happens in global shipping from time to time, especially during peak season leading up to Chinese New Year's, so on and so forth. And of course, they've got the tracking number for both containers, which it doesn't really matter which one you go to. It's the same information. So it looks like now they're actually not going to depart on the ship until March 3rd. Which, when everything is said and done, gets them to their final destination on April 24th, which is what? I guess everything's a week behind now. It's about a week later, right? It was originally supposed to be like the 15th or the 16th of April.
Yeah, so this is the second time it's slipped, right? So it slipped a week at the, like, basically John announced that it had shipped and was going to leave the day of, or what was it? Man, it was like right before Chinese New Year. And then it slipped to like the week after Chinese New Year. And now it's basically slipped again to the end of Chinese New Year, which is where I thought, well, this isn't a big shock. Once it slipped past the day of Chinese New Year, which was highly unlikely it was going to leave at that point. Like, if you're not going to leave on the day Chinese New Year starts, everything's shut down. So Chinese New Year is going to last 2 to 3 weeks. So I'm not shocked that now it's slipped to the end of Chinese New Year. And so, yeah, you're looking at late April in the US, and then another week or two to get to consumers. So, May.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, at this point now, it's, I know people are saying June, but probably May.
Yeah,
probably May. So I mean, at this rate now, it's basically a year off of their original ship date or I don't know. Was it when they said June of last year? Did we know? Was that meant to be ship date? Was that meant to be in people's hands?
I don't
Like,
think they were really clear. It was implied June 6th would be when you got it, but probably not in reality, right? But June 6th was the date, if I recall.
yeah.
Right.
So they're about a year behind at this point.
Pretty close to it.
Assuming no more slips at this point,
Yeah.
which who knows?
Yeah, hopefully it doesn't get lost at sea. I see John Fritz says it was the 17th and it went to the 24th, and then as you said, it's now March 3rd. So it just
Yeah.
keeps bumping back. So
Yeah. And it's a
we'll
shame
see.
because, I know a lot of people are waiting for this.
Yeah, there's a lot of hype, and obviously John D is looked at as really the kind of guy that helps steer Arcade1up into the direction of the replicas and things we wanted, helped make them better.
Yep.
And when he left Arcade1up in mid 2023, that was everybody's like, hey, he's going to do something awesome. And now here we are staring mid 2026, 3 years later, and people are still waiting on it. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of hype, a lot of anticipation, and a lot of expectations. And maybe that's fair, maybe it's not, right? Because for for this space in the US, it's a brand new company and iconic. I know they've done a multicade before, but it's a new company. But because John D's attached to it, there's a higher level of expectations because he knows what people want. He says he can deliver on it. So we'll see. It's going to be
Yeah.
exciting, I think, either way, whether you're for it or against it, like some people.
Yep.
It's going to be really interesting to see when people get them in their hands.
Yep. And now this comment from Mike Hawkins. This should give them plenty of time to have online play programming completed before units arrive. Now, no effing excuses now. Like, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, we haven't seen much of anything besides some, I know everybody gets on the whole UI thing. The renders for that and what the cab looks like. We haven't seen gameplay or if there's going to be any kind of online infrastructure at all. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, it's certainly expected, right? Like
Yeah.
when they announced this thing, they brought uh Justin Wong on board, right? Is that his name? I don't want to get his name
Yes.
wrong. I'm terrible with names, apologies. Who's a known competitive Street Fighter guy. He helped beta test a lot of what the Arcade1up stuff is. So the expectation was that he was brought on to help make this a competitive worthy cab, both, head to head and online.
Mhm.
And we've seen nothing, right? So we've seen no gameplay footage. We've seen no just UI, no online footage. We haven't heard from Justin or anybody else about that. And maybe that's, you wouldn't really see that with other companies either. But
Mhm.
given Blitz, given, MVC2, there's an expectation there that I think
Yeah.
people expect a high tier online experience. And right now, when there's nothing else going on and you're waiting for your product to get here, now's the time to kind of show that stuff, brag on that stuff, create, a couple months of hype around it. So when it does get here and you open up new orders, you've got people super excited for it. So hopefully they start talking soon. Silence is kind of just going to lead to more questions. So hopefully we start seeing some of that stuff. I hope I would assume they have those golden samples already here
Yeah.
and can start showing stuff. So let's see it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that was the whole thing originally is John got that golden sample. There were some things that he wasn't happy with on it or some things that just didn't seem right, which was again another delay. But now that everything is actually finally shipping, that means he must have signed off on it. So yeah, it would be good to see something for sure.
How about you? Is this something you're like interested in, or is it just kind of one of those things that
I'm
you've had enough Street Fighter at this point?
well, yeah, that's a part of it. I'm definitely taking a wait and see attitude on it. I'm interested in general. I mean, like, a lot of us in the, who cover this stuff. I'm interested in it in that aspect, of course. In terms of owning one, I want to see it. I want to see how it looks. I want to see how it plays. I want to see, is there an online experience? If there's a store for adding games, how is that going to work? How, what's the expectation for that? Is it just going to be a couple of games and that's it? Is it going to be something that they continually add to? So I want to know a lot of that stuff before I plunk down that kind of money on something like this. When it comes to something like, say, like Glenn's unit, his Build-A-Cade FU, what you're getting into with that right out of the gate. You're getting a very fancy shell of a cabinet with his Viper, the equivalent of like a Raspberry Pi. And as long as you know what you're doing with those kind of things, like, then you know what to do with it. There's no real guesswork there. And at least with him too, we've already seen for lack of a better term, the prototype for this in his switcher that went into the iArcade. So
Right.
you know what to expect with something like that. This being something brand new, I'm not willing to be, a beta tester for it.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
I'm just not.
Yeah, and like Glenn, when the lead up to the Kickstarter was showing, like you said, the footage of what the UI looks like, what the experience is, right? Showing all the capabilities of arcade and stuff that is going to be on it. So you do know what that experience is going to be. Like he was pretty transparent all the way up through there. And right now they're just making this stuff. And so there's not much else until we start seeing some of these things show up. So, that's a good, Glenn's a great example of he's just been out front showing you every little piece all along the way, making sure people were excited about it and knew what they were buying. And obviously the performance of the Kickstarter proved it. And it sold wildly well.
Absolutely. All right. So, disclaimer, relationship with Glenn from being on a previous show with him, and he lives relatively close to him. 100%. This is very true, and I believe my contract is in perpetuity, so I have to mention him and chill him every once in a while.
Nice.
All right, so that's enough about Iconic. Let's talk a little bit about Toy Fair and what went on there. And you and I have both had some very interesting reactions to this lately. Here's one from you.
All right, Arcade1up, it's Toy Fair 2026. Do you have some new cabs for me? Oh, we think you are going to be so excited. Oh, I hope so. You've been teasing us all week. I'm so excited to show you what we brought. Now we really want something new. I hear you. Arcade1up hears you. We all hear you. Oh, and it's got to be big, like XL or Supreme. Oh, then you're really gonna love this one. Oh, baby. Let's go. Lay it on me. Home Arcade is back, baby. All right, then. Your wait is over. Check this out. Oh, what the?
And then for those of you who missed it, this was mine.
I loved yours. It was so funny.
Yeah, I had a good time with this one.
See you later.
This is breaking news. A warning, you may find this video disturbing.
What the? See you later.
That was so perfect.
Oh yeah, I had a little fun with that one. Oh, I, it was just one of those things. It's like after seeing everybody's reaction, it just popped into my head. I'm like, that the ending to Spider-Man when he's like, "What the fuck?" That was like, it would have been so perfect.
Yeah, it was quite the quite the announcement.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. All right. So you actually shared this in your Discord a little earlier today. So for those of you who are not familiar with the toy book, they're a publication. They put out a lot of stuff about, toys in general, but they were the ones last year who really broke the whole thing with Basic Fun. We knew they had been at Toy Fair last year, but they weren't showing anything except behind closed doors. And then the toy book came out with their article, and it was really the first time we got a glimpse of what they had planned for last year. This year, obviously, with Basic Fun purchasing Arcade1up, things were a little different. They had everything out in the open. We've seen pictures, we've seen video, we've seen all kinds of stuff. But this article just came out, today, I think, right? Yeah, the 18th.
Yep.
And there is some interesting stuff in here that I think is going to surprise people a little bit. It says here, Basic Fun acquired Arcade1up assets, and now it's bringing a whole new collection of arcade games to fans. The collection includes multiple price points for fans with different budgets. The Countercade, which will be available for $149.99, is a compact system that is perfect for playing in a living room or den. The Countercade Plus will be available for $199.99 and features a larger screen and upgraded controls in a similar compact size. Let me stop right there for a second. So here's what I think they're actually referring to with this, and James, correct me if you think I'm wrong here. I think when they say Countercade, they're talking about these ones that Arcade1up put out recently that have these little 8-inch 16:9 screens on them, and then I think they're rebranding the Basic Fun ones like the WrestleFest and the Centipede as Countercade Plus, and those are going to be the $200 ones. Does that seem to make sense to you?
Yeah, that appears to be exactly what it is, right? These are the exact products like the ones that you're showing right now, the Countercades that shipped at the end of 2024, and then we got an NBA Jam version later this year, not too long ago.
Yeah.
So these are those little widescreen things, and my guess is this is existing inventory that they took over. I don't. It'll be interesting to see if they keep making these.
Yeah.
My guess is they're just going to move what they have, and this is an easy way to advertise them and remind people that they're out there and go buy them. Right.
Yep. That's what I would think too, at least with these. Now, the more interesting thing was this continuation here. Fans who are looking for a more traditional arcade piece to add to their collection can pick up the deluxe stand-up machine, which will be available for $599.99 and features a full height cabinet with authentic artwork and real feel controls, or the Supreme stand-up machine, which will be available for $799.99 and is the ultimate piece for a super fans collection. So this is the first time we're hearing pricing going forward for their deluxe / ultra and the XL / Supreme. And I don't know about you, but this kind of shocked me a little bit. I mean, we saw the ultras at $600 last year, and yes, they had some deals and they had them like $100 off and all kinds of stuff like that. But then the WrestleFest came out at Sam's Club for $650. But now they're saying these, including this new Sonic, I would assume, are going to be $800.
Yeah, so they if you remember in Toy Fair last year, or even Toy Book last year, I think they quoted the Supreme at $699 then. And so it did come out and it was $50 cheaper. Which was great. And so I think you'll see a similar thing here. Obviously the Toy Book has that number. The the Mighty Comics and Collectibles did an interview with them on
Yes.
camera. They also told him directly on camera $7.99.
Yep.
And so that price point seems to be what they're going with. I will say it's likely an MSRP, like a suggested retail price,
Mm-hmm.
and you will see these coming in cheaper at ultimately at the club stores, but I wouldn't expect, $150 cheaper. Maybe this is where they come in at $7.49 or $6.99 as
Yeah.
opposed to the $6.50 one. And honestly, I'm not shocked with the inflation simply because anybody who's following computer stuff, right, knows that we're in the middle of Rampocalypse, or
Yeah,
Ramgeddon, or
exactly.
whatever you want to call it, right? And it's driving the price of everything through the roof. So as an example, 5090 graphics cards were $2,000 in, late December or early December, late November, and now they're $3,500. Like, so they're like exploding in price. And
Mhm.
now I get that that's the high end, but that goes all the way down the chain. You want 32 gigs of memory in your computer, it costs as much as a PS5 now. So, like, it's not completely unexpected. It's the
Yeah.
challenge I know Glenn's running into. All these companies, the RAM prices are exploding high, and so that's gonna bite us at some point. And when you're looking to build for Q4, I can see that being the prices, right, coming out
Mhm.
Christmas next year.
Yeah. I'm trying to see. I thought I had a picture of the Ms. Pac-Man, but I'm not finding it. So, we'll just talk about that a little bit. So obviously, everybody's been focusing on, the Sonic, um,
Wait, they're making a Sonic?
the Sonic the Hedgehog.
No idea.
But, obviously a lot of us picked up on the Ms. Pac-Man Supreme as well, even though Arcade1up for the most part kind of glanced over. It was like just a picture. Oh yeah, look, a Supreme. For me, like that was the bigger announcement. What were your thoughts on that one?
Well, 100%. I think people have been wanting the Miss Pac-Man Supreme XL for ever since the Pac-Man one came out. I get it's another Pac-Man, right? So it's not like Stop the Press is exciting, but it's
Yeah.
one that's a guaranteed seller, right? Like Pac-Man XL sold over 13,000 at Costco, and you can bet Miss Pac-Man, which is a far more popular game than Pac-Man, will sell that or more if done correctly.
Yeah.
And so that is a huge win. And if this was the lineup I was bringing, I would lead with Miss Pac-Man. Um, you know, we can talk about Sonic in a bit, but it's some interesting decisions with how they're treating Sonic. I don't think Sonic in and of itself is actually a bad idea. I think the execution is probably not smart.
So Corner Case says WrestleFest is the biggest announcement of those three. Enough with the Pac-Man already. Yeah, except
That was last year's announcement. So.
well, exactly. And by the time Toy Fair started, WrestleFest was already out, including that Supreme. So
Yep.
so that was already a known entity going in. It's the Ms. Pac-Man Supreme, the Sonic Supreme. I think some of the other deluxe or ultras that we saw there, for me, it seemed like a mix of um old stock versus maybe some re-release stuff. Like you look at the Golden Tee. Golden Tee still had Arcade1up branding on it. It still had like the live button on it.
Yeah.
But then you get to Pac-Man, and there was no Arcade1up branding on it. There was no live button on it. Um, the menu screen completely different. It didn't have the leaderboards on the side like the
Right.
original Pac-Man Deluxe did. So I think that one may be their prototype for a re-release of Pac-Man.
Yeah, and I think what like I noticed Galaga, their Galaga edition, right, even had the vault like plaque on it. Like,
Yeah.
so it was clearly Arcade1up's like dead stock. But you're right. Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man. What I think we know that even before they acquired Arcade1up, that Basic Fun had the Namco Pac-Man license, right? They had
Yeah.
mentioned that as a future cab in that podcast. So we knew it was coming at some point. They did show the baby Cade. You know, we got the leaks, and I think that actually didn't that come out, or they started selling it or something. I can't remember. Of their version of the baby Cade of Pac-Man. So we knew they had it. So
Yeah.
it makes sense that they were already in development of a Pac-Man Ultra series, a Pac-Man or Miss Pac-Man in this case, Supreme. And so when they acquired Arcade1up, they're like, we like ours better. Ours has cam locks, no exposed screws, and everything else. But the key to all of these, I think, is that as you've watched the videos and seen the photos from there, is every single one of them says pending license or approval, except for like WrestleFest. So all of these, as we've seen them, may or may not ever come out. They may come out but not look like that. We just don't know what the
Yeah.
final product will be on any of these.
Yeah, because they even said that these were, prototypes. They were pending license, even on the Sonic, that a lot of the artwork was going to
Yeah.
change. And so let's talk about Sonic for a minute, and then we're gonna have a little fun with Sega in general. So, a lot of us, I think, were very disappointed when we found it that the big announcement was going to be a Sonic cab. It's not something that is recognizable from the arcades. Yes, I know you're the one who I know first of all point out the whole thing with the Megatech, which was something I wasn't super familiar with. I understand it's Sega's answer to the Play Choice 10, basically. Wasn't big here. I don't even know if it ever was even released here, right?
It was my understanding it was Japan only.
Yeah.
Right. So when you see them here, people who've seen them and played them here likely was way after the fact and somebody imported them, right? Some collector, things like that. So you'll see them today, but they came from Japan. Like they weren't in the arcades when Play Choice 10 was out, right?
Right.
This wasn't a thing here.
Yeah. And even so, I've seen like a lot of people have commented on my videos. You've probably seen it as well. It's obvious from what we've seen so far that like they're not going that route, that these are the Genesis ROMs.
Yep.
Because even like the Megatech, the whole thing with the Megatech is it's timered. You put your coin in, you've got X amount of time to play as far as you can, and whatever. You put another coin in, you get more time and whatever. And there's no timer shown on these screens.
So it should, I believe it does. Like I have the Megatech version on my Nova Blast.
Mhm.
And it has, just like the regular ROM, it has that 30-second timer at the beginning where you have to complete that first level and then it stacks. I
Mhm.
will say, but it's a little different, right? It has high score screens. So at the end,
Okay.
you enter your high score. The levels are different. They're not the same. Like level 2 is the equivalent of level 3 on the arcade ROM. So it's cut down. Same game otherwise, but they've removed some of the stages and things. There's no bonus stages that I've seen playing it. Doesn't mean they're not there. I mean, they just never got there. But on the Genesis, there's a bonus stage basically between every stage, and
Yeah.
that doesn't exist on the arcade. So it is slightly different, but it is the same game. Like it is the Genesis ROM with some edits to it, so
Yep.
it's not drastically different.
Yeah. And of course, another thing I've seen a lot of people talking about is the fact that a lot of the art seems to feature Knuckles, and there isn't a single game on there that features Knuckles. Now, we both know Sonic 3 would be very difficult to do because of the licensing of the music, because Michael Jackson worked on the music. And my good buddy Mike of All Trades is here. Hey, Mike. And for those of you who missed it, you should check out his video that he put out earlier today, because he was talking about this very thing. And he pointed out something that I wasn't aware of, because I'm not an Xbox guy. But on the Xbox, there's a version of Sonic 3 that has a slight change to the music, so it gets around that licensing thing. I wonder if that's something that they could consider doing, because again, this final list, this isn't necessarily the final list of games and all.
Yeah, and they've indicated that there's possibility more of the console games will come, right? In interviews, they've said it's potentially not the final games list. And we know they can do that, right? We know
Yeah.
they can edit the ROM. Look at WrestleFest. They changed the
Oh
logos. They
yeah.
took some of the wrestlers out.
Yep.
So they very easily could replace the music, right? So um, I think that's a very real possibility. But the reality is there's one reason and one reason only Knuckles is on the side art, and it has nothing to do with the games. It has everything to do with the movie, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Knuckles has his own, own TV show, and
Yep.
or was it? Did Shadow have the TV show? Shadow's
No,
just
it was
the one in
Knuckles.
3.
Knuckles.
Yeah,
They
that's
did
what I
a
thought.
they did
Knuckles had the
a
TV
Knuckles
show. Yeah. And so he's popular, right?
Yeah.
So it's one the kids will
And
recognize, and so you put
with
them
him
both
being
on there.
you can't go wrong with him being voiced by Idris Elba.
Right. Yeah, he's the GOAT. So that's the reason.
No,
Knuckles
actually,
is on the
Israel, I
side.
did not know this. There's a version of Sonic 2 with Knuckles playable.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. I've
I
never
did not.
seen that.
I did not know that. Does it really matter? Do you care what games are on this? Well, we're just going over it and talking about it in general. And Mo here says that's with the expansion from the Sonic and Knuckles cart. Okay. Well, but still, I mean, like I said, there's other stuff that they could do here. But
Yeah.
like, bottom line, is this a cab you're interested in?
No, because there's no arcade games on it. Like it to me, it's got two, and honestly, three really bad things to it for
Okay.
me. One, that it's an XL or Supreme, and it's $800. So right away, I'm like, $800. Like, what else could I do with $800?
Yeah.
Two, that's not, if I were gonna play that myself or introduce my kids to that, like, we're putting a controller in their hand and they're sitting on the couch and they're playing Sonic the way it was meant to be played, right? So they can experience the long marathon session of Sonic rather than standing up at a arcade. So even if you say, hey, this is for kids, a countercade makes more sense or even a babycade makes more sense that a kid can stand at and play
Right.
easily. A Supreme makes zero sense because now I got to put them up on a stool where they can fall off or they can barely touch the controls, like you name it. So I think that's a big problem.
Yeah.
I think the marquee is absolutely beautiful. I think the rest of the cab is pretty ugly. I don't think the artwork is very good. Considering what, you go around, look at Sonic console game packages from the early days all the way up to the latest releases, and they have great artwork that they could have chosen.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. And what they chose was kind of just like, man, we just threw it on there. We put some white lines, designs on here. If you want to sell it to the kids today, which is what a lot the conventional wisdom is, right?
Mhm.
Then you throw on the movie characters and stuff. Why even go with the cartoon characters? Use the 3D animated pictures from
The only
know.
caveat I'll say to that is it's an extra licensing fee because you're probably going to have to license. I mean, I know it's not the same as licensing like a real person who's in a movie,
Right.
but there's probably still some licensing involved in the movie look of those characters versus the game look of those characters.
Yeah, and that's fair, but you could still get to like the 3D versions of Sonic that look very close without touching the movies. And again, wouldn't appeal to me.
They should just put ugly Sonic on it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm thinking. But it wouldn't appeal to me personally.
Yeah.
With those. But if that's their target market, if you're taking the conventional wisdom that this will sell because kids love Sonic, then you want to give them the Sonic that kids love, not the Sonic that, dad or grandpa loved, right? Like, this is trying to sell boomer Sonic to children.
Yeah.
at a premium price point. That's not. I don't think
Yeah.
that's a recipe for disaster.
Yep. So we'll see what happens with it. As usual, I always say, I hope they do well with it because I'd like to see more stuff come from them. I'd like to see different stuff come from them. And I'd like to see more Sega from them, if at all possible. Now, there's, you know what, let me start with this. Let me pull this up because there's you can certainly debate whether or not they actually have a license to do Sega or whether or not they have a license just for Sonic. And let's see. Here we go. Bring this up for a second. So this is a screenshot from GenXGrownup, who was there, John from GenXGrownup, who was at the show. So shout out to him. He did a walkthrough of their booth and a couple of other booths at Toy Fair. But I took this screenshot because this is a list of their current licenses that they had on display. And there was a couple of things that I noticed on this. It's very prominently, they've got Pac-Man and Ms. Pac-Man, but then they've also got the Bandai Namco logo, which leads you to believe that obviously, that they've got more options than just Pac-Man and Ms. Pac-Man with Bandai Namco. There's other games that they could license. And it's pretty obvious that, the Pac-Man and Ms. Pac-Man machines are going to have anywhere from 7 to 14 games on them, probably the same games list we've seen in the past. They've got the Star Wars logo on here, but they've also got Atari. The Star Wars games are Atari. They've also done the Centipede Asteroids game, thing, Tempest and all for Atari. You've got the WWE logo down in the corner. Now, what's interesting about that is that they're only showing the WWE logo. They're not showing Technos or more
Arc System.
To the point. Thank you, Arc. Yeah, Arc System Works on here. So I don't know if that means they don't have like a wide gamut of Arc System Works games, and it's like strictly to like the wrestling games or the handful of games that they put on the WrestleFest. You've got WB, which we know that they've done a mini version of Mortal Kombat. I'm hoping that this means that they'll be able to do the larger versions. Again, it's a re-release, but everybody would actually love to see, a lot of people would love to see an XL Supreme Mortal Kombat. If Cornercade is in here, he's been saying it's coming forever. So so there you go, Cornercade. We've it's coming. Mortal Kombat.
I would also point out that this list is, like you mentioned, WB Games. Obviously, that's Midway, right? So, but this list is not just the 3/4 scale and what we know of like Arcade1up. As you pointed out, this is next to all the countercades, all the arcade classic handhelds, little desktop things, like everything. So this was all kind of like everything all together, and still it only says Sonic, right? So
that's exactly where I was going. And then you've got Sonic the Hedgehog, but what you don't have is Sega. The Sega logo is not on this list. So does that mean that they've only got Sonic and not a Sega license where they could produce more games?
Yeah, and we kind of were talking about this briefly offline the other day. I don't know if you have their press release up, but you even pointed out the press release. We all kind of read that as, oh, they have a multi-year Sega agreement. But when you go back and read it, words have meaning, and that's not exactly what it says.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if you have it up, but it said something like a multi-year Sonic the Hedgehog license from Sega or something like that.
Right. But then I've also seen in other posts and whatever where they have mentioned multi-year Sega. So it's very ambiguous right now
Yeah.
as to exactly what this license means. But let's play What If for a little while. And my apologies to Arcades Anonymous. I think we are going to go over a little bit here, but we're going to have some fun because I've got a list of about 10 different games here from Sega that either A, would have been much better than Sonic, or with any luck, maybe will come out later, especially if the Sonic one actually does well. So this, I literally just went into, Google and said, give me the top 10 Sega arcade games of the 80s and 90s. And this is basically the list it came up with. These are in no particular order, but I thought, like I said, we could have a little bit of fun with this. And I'll start with this one. And this one might be a little bit obscure, but like I said, we're going to go through a few of them. So bear with me. This is 1986's Fantasy Zone.
Yep.
And this one might be a lesser known title, but if you're a shmup fan and you like games like Gradius and things like that, then this would be a really fun one for them to have. Now, I'm not saying they should make a dedicated Fantasy Zone cab, but I could see this being on an additional game on a Sega cab.
Yeah, and
is this one you're familiar with? Is this one that you like?
I actually have, like, I don't have the arcade version of this other than like on a multicade or something, but like these are great on like the Famicom. So I have 1 and 2, right? And I assume they might have been released on the NES as well. But so there's a sequel to this, like, so it, one of these cute 'em ups, kind of shmup, and they're fun. They're a fun game, and they work well. They lend themselves to arcades. So yeah, if you've got a Sega cab, like this is one that should be on there, especially if you're looking for some variety.
Yes. Okay. Yes. It's it's a cute 'em up. Yes. I will give you that. This Proteus, although Proteus is Konami. Yes. But this was this was the first one. And believe it or not, this was a good seller for Sega back in the day. This one was very, did very well for them. All right, next up is this one. And we've seen this one before because this actually was on the iArcade. This is Space Harrier. Space Harrier, released in 1985. I always liked this one. I thought this one was really unique, the way, the 3D scrolling on it. It was just a very fast, frantic play. Just a lot going on all the time. I always really liked this one. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, Sega's the king of this like parallax scrolling, which gave you those giant sprites so that you felt like you were 3D. And this is a great one. And obviously, this one's played with a flight stick in the arcade. So like it lends itself to being on another cab that I know people want from Sega. So I will mention that because I'm betting that's in your list later.
I'm betting it is too.
This would make a great companion or even a standalone. Like, I think the other one being the marquee title is probably better, but this is a classic, very popular, very fun arcade game.
Absolutely. All right. Moving on. We'll go to this one. All right, this is next. Oop, by the way, got to give a shout out to Long Play, because this is where I took a lot of the footage from. So, but this is Shinobi, and obviously, this was the first game. There's other games in the Shinobi series that could be added, but I'll tell you, I think a Shinobi cab would be really cool from them. And again, there's other games that you could add. There's others in the Shinobi series, but this is one I would love to see.
Absolutely. I mean, Shinobi's one for me personally that's like super nostalgia. Hanging out at the indoor soccer place, everybody played Shinobi. And the Nintendo never did it justice in the way the Nintendo version played on the NES. And so the arcade is like just a great experience. And then when it switches to that third person view and you're throwing the stars and stuff at the whatever bottles or whatever they are, like this is just such a great game. And actually I was
Yeah.
crushed when last week when Arcades Anonymous, like very few of them knew what this game was. I was like,
Really?
how do you not recognize Shinobi? Because it was one in their little
Oh,
list
yeah, when
of
they do their 5
yeah.
games.
It's
Yeah.
like the freeing the kids, kind of a dead giveaway, but it was like, man, Shinobi is like the original ninja. Like,
Yep.
this is the game, so super classic Sega game.
Absolutely. So I think this would be said
This was
this is
on Golden Axe, wasn't it? Like, didn't Golden Axe have Shinobi on it?
it might have. I'll be honest, I don't remember all of the titles on there. But speaking of, now we've got this.
Oh, yeah.
And this is actually the second one. This is the Revenge of Death Adder. But I'm one of the ones I had on the thumbnail for here was the Arcade1up Golden Axe. Now, how hard would it be if they can get a Sega license back? How hard would it be to just re-release that one?
Yeah.
Turn it into an Ultra, get rid of the riser on it,
Oh,
or
yeah.
even a Supreme, and just re-release it with the games it had on it and everything.
Yeah, and this is obviously an iconic brand. It's one of the biggest selling Genesis games of the era. It has even today people are making toys for this game. Like it's a pretty iconic brand that I think is an obviously easy win. That's why Arcade One Up made it one of its staple Sega releases. Right? It's just first of all any beat 'em up, but Golden Axe is like one of the beat 'em ups.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So I personally, I would love to see them re-release this. I think a lot of people would like to see it, people who missed out on it in the first time. And again, change it up, turn it into an Ultra, turn it into a Supreme. It's almost a no-brainer. Since they've done it once before, they could easily do it again, assuming again that they've gotten that license back. All right.
Yeah, it's so good.
It is. It is.
Got to have
All right.
online play for it though. Any of these beat 'em ups, I want online play. So, we're playing with all of our friends.
And that's another thing, just real quick, because we didn't really get into that. So before I move on to the next one, none of the ones from last year had Wi-Fi or any kind of online play. And again, I'm looking at these cabs that they showed, and you look at the Pac-Man one, the Sonic, the Ms. Pac-Man. I'm not button.
Oh, Bill's gone. There he is.
I'm back. That was weird. That was weird. Anyway,
Now I'm the host.
So I'm not seeing the live button. So it seems like they are not or have no interest in adding Wi-Fi to any of these, which would mean no online play, no leaderboards, no like easy firmware upgrades. Is that a mistake?
Yeah. Well, and like there wasn't even a mention of it, right? In anything that they did, not like we're exploring it or we expect it, like literally nothing. And so obviously you have to file FCC.
Yeah.
If they're doing this stuff. So that's maybe they don't want that stuff coming out. Maybe they don't want the headache of supporting an online infrastructure. But it's such a huge miss. Like it's something that, again, not every game I care about. Like, and I know most people don't care about every game having online. You can live without lots of these games having online. Even even the leaderboard things, like not, they get filled up very quickly with the world class people, and then you're good luck getting on them in a lot of them.
Yeah, true.
But there are certain games where it's kind of a must. And for me, WrestleFest was one of those. You really like that is an iconic social game. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles would be one.
Mhm.
Death Adder would be one. Just such a huge mistake of having some of these titles and not having that. Maybe that's the delay on
Yeah.
something like
Who knows?
TMNT.
But
yeah, it's
and
it's a shame.
We've been speculating for a while exactly what assets they purchased, and like Mike Hawkhurst says on here on Moat's video today, he talked about this, that they let go. We saw it. They let go of their beta team, and a lot of the people who were heavily involved in the online play aspect of everything. So, was that infrastructure, were those servers, was that part of the assets, or maybe they were, and they sold them off.
Could be.
And they liquidated that to just for some quick cash to go into some of this stuff. And however much they spent, maybe they decided to sell some of the assets off and get rid of them.
And just thinking from the aspect of running the business in general, it's got to cost a heck of a lot more to have the games developed, right? Because you're not doing off the shelf RetroArch online play. You're looking for things like lobbies and rollback and that kind of stuff, and fighting games, and so it's not inexpensive, right? And so I'm betting the cost of not just maintaining the infrastructure but developing the ROMs, like working with these companies like Code Mystics and others to develop it, costs a lot more to build in the online aspects. So I get that's probably some sort of barrier right now, especially right now when they're probably trying their darndest to keep prices low.
Yep.
But at the same time, again, certain games, it's kind of a must. And quite frankly, with what happened with that countercade, the WWE countercade, where it did not function correctly, and they had to push out an update, and everybody had to go buy cables and drag their computer, put it over by their computer and flash it and hope it worked and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like that is, problematic. And I would imagine that was very expensive, very damaging to their reputation, resulted in a ton of returns, like as we saw, right with Radical Reggie. And then on top of that, you had Spreetail opening up every single one. So they didn't send them back to the factory. They opened them up at their warehouse, flashed every one. So everybody who was buying a new one from that point on was buying an open box, version for brand new pricing. So, it's just, that's what happens because they have no way to provide a online update. So just from the update standpoint, you'd think they would do it, but
and like you said, even like Mike Hawkers is saying, are there kind of one-up servers still up for matchmaking? It's been a while.
As far as
I'm aware, they are, and I know the last time, which was probably this past weekend, I turned on my cabs and I at least looked and played a little bit. I know like the leaderboards were still up. It was still, downloading that information and whatever. It wasn't, giving me some issue about not connecting. So I don't know that. I mean, I guess they've at least kept that up for the legacy stuff. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. But let's get back to the list, because the next one is another one that Arcade1up has done in the past that would be, again, a real good, easy no-brainer for them to possibly re-release. Outrun.
Yep. What do you even need to say?
It's such
what
a classic.
Everybody wants.
Yeah. And, and I get, I know a lot of people, they went the buy stuff route and they modded theirs to put a whole, all the different games on it and whatever. But, you could do that with, with a new one too, I suppose. But
this is
I just think it's a good one for them to re-release again.
Yeah, and it's one that kind of went out of the market before a ton of people got into the space, right? So a
Mhm.
lot of people missed Outrun. Sold out quickly, then they lost the Sega license, so no re-releases. Unless you were lucky enough to get one from the bottom of the ocean on that Red Cross thing, I think.
Were these the ones that fell into the ocean?
That's my understanding. It was Outruns that
Oh my
dropped
God.
into the ocean.
Maybe that's why they lost the Sega license. Anyway, all right, let's move on to this one. And this one got mentioned a little earlier. And this one comes up all the time.
Oh yeah.
And actually, I think this is the Afterburner 2 that I have the video playing for. But Afterburner 2, hell, go ahead and put, like you were saying, put Space Harriers on this because it uses that similar flight yoke.
Yeah, I mean, any Afterburner is going to be like a massive seller. You've got Top Gun. The new Top Gun is like in the works, right? Like time it for release
really?
with Top Gun 3 and huge. You got ads. It's ads on that video. I know. Like, and just running ads in the middle of the show.
I'm too cheap to pay for the premium thing, so sorry about that.
Oh, me too. But yeah, this is one of those this is a bucket list for me. I'd love for them to do this.
Yeah,
I don't know how they like. People are going to have to give them a lot of grace with this one, like kind of like with Return of the Jedi, because I don't see them doing a bunch of plastic injected molded or vacuum formed shell for this thing.
Oh
to
no,
give you that
it would look nowhere near like
the arcade,
the real cab. It would have to be a boxy homage like like the Return of the Jedi is. And of course, no way in hell are you getting sit down or that gyroscopic,
what, they're not going to put hydraulics in it?
Which would be amazing, but baby steps, people, baby steps.
But yeah, this is a must. Like, even if they give it to us in like just the standard Midway shape, wrong art. I know, like, typically I'm not a fan of that, but I would just love a dedicated like Afterburner as close as we can get it.
Yeah. And while JJ Zaxxon, it isn't on the list that I'm showing today, but I absolutely love that game, and 100% I would love to see it go on a cab like this as well, for sure. All right, so we already talked about one racer that was very popular. Let's talk about another one. Guesses.
Can't even imagine.
And of course, it's Daytona. Daytona probably not quite, but one of the later releases on this list. We're actually starting, like, all the ones up to this point, except for Revenge of Death Adder, were all 80s games. Now we're starting to get into 90s games.
Yeah,
with the rest of this list. And I don't know if that matters in terms of difficulty to emulate. It might, because we have not seen Arcade1up do games of this caliber, really. So it would be interesting to see if this is something they can make happen. But other than Outrun, you talk racing, and this is the one that comes up all of the time. And again, there's Virtua Racer, there's other racing games that could be added to this as well. But this is the biggie. This would be the marquee for me.
Yeah, obviously it's one of the, I think, top 2 games requested from the driving side. This and Cruisin', right? So
yeah,
it's an easy smash hit. Now, what does it cost to license it? That's a different question, right? Like, because you've got, I don't know that there are actually real companies on these. Is Gallup Racing real? Not that I know of. But that's a challenge, right? Because then you'd have to generic size the cars. But you know, I don't see why they couldn't do it other than they just haven't had the will to do it for some reason.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Next up is another fan favorite, another one that gets mentioned quite a bit. Virtua Fighter. And of course, we've heard rumors in the past of, Virtua Fighter and whatever, which, unfortunately hasn't come about, but this would be a good one for them. This actually came out same year as Daytona, 1993.
Yep.
And then of course you got
Virtua
Virtua Fighter 2 and I'm sure there's other games that could be added to it as well, but this would be such a hit for them.
Yeah, obviously, there's a segment of people that really like this one. I'd rather see them do Tekken before something like this myself, but there are a diehard group of Virtua Fighter fans for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's an easy add to any cab, really. Whether it's the marquee tile or just a fighter on it, it would be a good addition. But I'd take a Virtua Cop over this any day of the week.
Well, funny you mentioned that. Because here's Virtua Cop.
Yeah. That game's awesome. Virtua Cop 1, 2, I'd take all that.
Yeah, I mean, they could easily do Virtua Cop 1, Virtua Cop 2 on a cab like this. Just a shooter cab in general, I think would be fantastic. I've always loved this game. I don't know. There's something about this with the the way the circles come in and everything on it. This has always been like a favorite shooter cab of mine, and we really haven't seen anybody do this yet.
Yeah, I mean it's really well done, right? So I think this and Time Crisis are some of the best. And obviously Sega also did House of the Dead, which I'm sure you're going to mention. But to me, I actually prefer this over House of the Dead. I realize the horror genre is probably better, but I really like the way the Virtua Cop series plays quite a bit.
Yes, me too.
So I think it would be a huge win. And even if it's on a House of Dead cab that you throw this on, I'd be happy.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. I really do think that they could do a whole shooter cab, not just with Virtua Cop on it, but then of course you get into this. You get into House of the Dead, and of course this is gameplay from House of the Dead 2 that I'm showing, because we all know, or I think a lot of people know, is the original House of the Dead is tough to do because apparently there's no source code for it, right?
Right. They had to remake it from scratch to re-release it.
Yeah. So
and I think it's widely considered the remake is not very good, right?
Yeah.
Compared to the original. So
yeah,
even if you did a House of the Dead 2, it would be a smash, right? Like that would sell like insanely well.
Absolutely. I think people would love it. I mean, listen, if you can do a remake and throw it on there, I don't think people are going to, well, people will always find something to complain about, but I think they'd just be happy to have it.
I agree. I just don't know that the hardware that comes on these could run the remakes, because the remakes are designed like Wii and newer. So
yeah,
it's going to take a much beefier engine than some of these original ones. But
yeah, I mean, either that or you've got to do a whole nother remake specifically for this, which is probably beyond what they'd be willing to do.
Yeah, I mean, if they could get the remake to run, I'm sure people would be just as happy to have the remake than, but there'd still be people complaining it's not the original. Who don't understand, well, you can't do the original, not
right.
just can't get the source code.
Yeah, exactly. But in general, a shooter cab, the House of the Dead games, the Virtual Cop games, I think would be fantastic from them. And we need another shooter. Obviously, before the end of the original Arcade1up, we saw them re-release that slim version of Terminator. The last really new cab from them was Time Crisis.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would be nice to see, the new guys pick up and do a shooter as well.
When we've not gotten a horror cab from anybody, right? Like, so not just a shooter, but a horror themed shooter, like,
Yeah.
would just scratch a lot of the itches that there's a lot of crossover there that means sales. So
Yep.
it's hard
Absolutely.
to imagine that wouldn't have been a smash hit.
Yeah.
Because even kids, like, they don't even care what the IP is. Like, I have kids, they just want to go up and pull the triggers on the guns. Like, if I put a Sonic Supreme next to Time Crisis, I'll give you one guess which one my kids are going to. And it ain't called Sonic, right? Like, they're going to go straight for the guns. Or if you have a driving cab, they're going to go straight for the driving cab.
Yeah.
Like, that's what the kids want, right? So
there's something about a controller that's not joystick and buttons.
Oh yeah, especially there are things
the
like
tactile feel of it, the visceral nature of, like, whether it's driving. There I go again.
What keeps
pointing
happening
and
to
shooting.
you?
Something must be going on with my
Something's
internet. Something must.
Yeah.
That was
or restream or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like you said, it's the experience. Kids don't get to drive. They don't get to run around with guns. Like, it's not like when we were kids where you went to this toy store and there was tons of guns you could go play with. I guess there's a little Nerf guns and stuff, but for the most part, you don't really have those kinds of guns. So for them, it's like, hey, I pull the trigger, it makes a lot of noise. This is fun. I'm not even hitting anything, but they're having a blast, right?
Yeah, exactly.
The young kids will have fun just driving around in a circle, not going anywhere in a driving game, and have more fun than they ever would trying to play Sonic on the Genesis.
All right, so that was my list. That was the ones that came up for me, and I think it's a pretty good list of Sega arcades. A lot of stuff on there that people have mentioned in the past, would love to see. Will it ever happen? I don't know. We're gonna have to wait and see what it really means for Basic Fun and Arcade1up with the Sega license. Is it just Sonic? Does this open the door to more Sega, especially if it does well? We'll have to wait and see. But before we kind of wrap things up, what about other games? Maybe something I missed. Is there anything you can think of that from Sega that you would love to see either in its own standalone cab or added to, like, a cab like these?
So I think there's one for me that's huge that I don't think is a very popular arcade game, and that's Star Trek Arcade. That was
I agree with that. I like that one.
Yeah, I think it's just an iconic brand, a timeless brand, along with it's a great vector game. It was mentioned Zaxxon is pretty iconic with that isometric. So I think those two are huge. You're looking for platformers. You got Congo Bongo is a big one.
Yep.
There's just
Congo
lot,
Bongo. The only problem with
Star
Congo
Trek
Bongo is I think doesn't it have that same kind of diagonal control like Qbert has?
Yes. Yeah.
But I like that.
I mean, there's challenges
but I like that
with
game.
it, right?
And again, it's on the iArcade. It's tough to play on iArcade because of that. But
Right. So the dream. I still wish somebody would release a Star Trek. So I can.
Yeah, I'm with you. I always liked that one. So I always thought that game was very interesting, and it's been ported to a lot of things, including like the Vectrex.
Yeah.
And all.
Hang On was another dream one, right? A motorcycle game that would be huge.
Oh yeah.
But be the first with handlebars, like, huge win.
Yep. Yeah, I think in one of these videos somebody mentioned Paperboy. So I mean, and I know that's Midway, that's not Sega or whatever, but
Still,
just in terms of
Paperboy
something,
cab would be gigantic.
yes, just something with those handlebar controls. I think you could actually play it the way it's meant to be played, and not with a joystick and
not with the original trackball.
Yeah. Oh God. All right, but anyway, so that was my list. That was everything. Final thoughts as we start to wrap things up.
I'm hopeful that they have the Sega license beyond Sonic. The wording is over there. I think the only thing I've seen where they mention a multi-year Sega deal was an Arcade1up official response to somebody in a chat, which, like, maybe they know, maybe they don't know. It's hard to say if it's a social media person. Like,
just some PR guy. They might.
The wording is weird on all the stuff. So I'm hoping, like, I'll be optimistic and say yes, they have a full Sega license, and Sega's agreed to work with them, and they can go license other games. And so I think Sega's a huge brand. There's a lot of good games. I'm gun shy because Arcade1up had them and lost them with some pretty big titles. So, like, what makes us think that this will actually go beyond the Sonic cab, especially given the dislike of retro that their CEO has? But my arcade's doing Outrun, right? So there's hope. But there's whether that's the arcade ROM versus the Genesis ROM, I'm not sure.
Yeah, especially on those smaller ones. I know a lot of times they tend to use the console ROMs and not the arcade ROMs. But look, it's out there. Like you said, My Arcade, we've seen them with Sonic, we've seen them with Outrun, we've seen them. I think they even did like a mini Shinobi. So the license is out there. It's possible. So fingers crossed that this leads to something else, and we're not stuck with just Sonic for the next several years in multiple forms, as they have hinted at.
Yeah, I mean, Crazy Taxi, I guess, is the other huge one we probably neglected to talk about. I think that's never going to get done. Like,
it would be great to see that on a driving cab, but
the music,
people will hate it because they won't be able to do the music, and that the Offspring that song is so iconic with that cab. To not have it would just kill it. And I've seen people in chats before saying, well, just don't do the music and have like an SD card where you can put your own music on and stuff. And it's a great idea. They'll never do it, but it's a great idea.
Well, I mean, they pulled off the WWE, so maybe they can pull off the Offspring. Like, you never know.
Who knows?
I mean, if they did, they'd be goated, right? Like, if they brought us a Crazy Taxi with the actual music, it would be like, you can take any other song off there as long as it's got the yeah.
Exactly.
To paraphrase Bobby 1ALU, I know he's the karaoke guy in the bunch.
All right, guys, as we start to wrap up, do me a favor. Go over, subscribe to James Hates Everything on YouTube. If you're not already subscribed, go ahead, check him out, watch some of his videos. Go ahead. You're going to be live again tomorrow night?
Yeah, and surprisingly, we're going to talk about Sonic the Hedgehog.
No.
But we're going to talk about
literally nothing else to talk about. So yeah,
well,
you have to do it.
I want to, like I do on the channel, right? Like, I want to approach this not from a fan perspective, but a little bit from a business perspective. So we're going to challenge the conventional wisdom that this is going to be a big seller. So tune in, agree or disagree. You might learn something, and we can have it out in the chat. So should be fun.
All right, guys. So yeah, make sure you go check out James Hates Everything and go watch his show tomorrow night. And I should be back here next week with something else. I don't know what, but we'll see. And of course, if you're not subscribed to this channel, go ahead and do that. Make sure you ring that bell for notification. If you want to be a member of the Billbarians, you can go ahead and do that too. Go ahead and
nice.
Click on the little QR code there. Join the Billbarians. 99 cents a month gets you a shout out at the end of my videos. Gets you some early access to videos from time to time. I got to do more of that, but yeah, that's gonna do it, guys. We've already run longer than normal, so I'm gonna send you guys over to Arcades Anonymous. Go check them out, or whatever else you have planned for your Wednesday evening. Thank you for joining us, James. Thank you so much again for coming on last minute. I absolutely appreciate it. And we'll see you guys next week. So take care. Happy gaming.